Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's Mike here at Game From Scratch, and today Blender Foundation just released their big projects list for 2021. It's basically a roadmap of the big new features that are going to be coming in Blender over 2021 and going forward into 2022. And today I'm going to start with a bit of a recap of what happened in 2020, and then we're going to get on to what is coming, because a lot of these things that are going to be coming in 2021 actually build on what happened in 2020, and arguably 2020 was the biggest year in Blender's history. So let's go through some of what happened. We actually had 3 releases, 4 if you count LTS versions of Blender this year, all of them pretty significant. We started things off in February with the release of Blender 2.82. Here we got new features such as UDIM support. One of the big ones that's going to carry over into 2021 is support for Pixar's USD format. This is a universal scene descriptions. This was a limited amount of support at this point in time, but it's one of those things that got built on. At the same time, ray tracing hardware, denoising for your renderers kind of became a consistent improvement area, as did sculpting. Sculpting got a lot of love in 2020. Grease Pencil also got quite a few updates. So after that particular release, we moved into June 3rd, and we saw the first ever Blender LTS release, LTS standing for long-term support. Now, one of the big things with Blender is they're trying to get it into more and more major studios. And if you're working on, say, a feature film project, you're probably not upgrading your version over and over and over again. You don't want to break file compatibility or features or anything like that. So these long-term projects tend to want long-term support. And that's the idea behind Blender 2.83 LTS version. It's a version of Blender 2.83. It just means that it's going to continue to get updates, and it did throughout the year, so it gets bug fixes, security improvements, and so on as that version goes on. So if you want to lock into a version of Blender for a long time, for a long project, you probably want to choose an LTS version. And this is the first ever LTS version. I believe they've committed to doing one basically every 2 years. So this is Blender 2.83 LTS. First release was on June the 3rd. And then on August 31st, we got Blender 2.90 was released. Here we got physically based animated skies, improved motion blur in Eevee. Again, more denoising optic stuff, and from Intel and NVIDIA in this particular case. We've got improvements to the cloth simulations, including 4 new types. Again, the amount of improvements on the sculpting side of things is staggering. I could do an entire video about how much sculpting was improved in 2020 alone. Modeling tools also got improvements there. UV tools got some minor improvements, some UI, UX improvability, including a new search feature, which is definitely quite nice. And then to close out the year, Blender 2.91 was released at the end of November. Again, sculpting was a big part of this particular release. We've also got, we got the sculpting improvements, including collisions, gravity-based sculpting, that kind of stuff. We've got improved Boolean support. This is one of those areas where 2.8 was actually worse than 2.79. It has a new Boolean with the exact solver available to it. Also, volumetric support and support for OpenVDB was in this particular release. So definitely a nice chunk of releases. New features came throughout the year. On top of that, the Blender Foundation got a whole lot of new members. Off the top of my head, all right, Epic was last year, so Unity, AWS, Facebook, NVIDIA, and AMD all came on board. Microsoft joined up, Ubisoft Animation came on board, and so on. So as you can see, it's kind of a who's who of companies now. The number of studios and companies supporting Blender at this point in time is quite impressive, and hopefully will continue to improve in 2021. So definitely it was a banner year for Blender in 2020. So let's look at what they're talking about in 2021. One of the things that they've got going on is they've got a new open movie. They do one of these every once in a while, so kind of a dog fooding of their project. They make an open project, collaborative project, using their tools to drive their tools forward. This one is Sprite Fright, and Sprite Fright is actually what I used for the title graphic for this particular video. Another thing that's new to this coming up, so this was actually in the current alpha release, and I actually did a video on it. This one is going to be huge, is everything nodes. Right now it's geometry nodes. And they're going to move to the point that allows you to use nodes to make almost all aspects of your project procedurally. So what this allows you to do is, if you've got a workflow that requires a whole lot of either automation or replication, instead of having you jump into scripting, you can basically start creating these node graphs. So one of the examples out there right now is geometry nodes. The example, I actually have a video on it, showcases how to scatter pebbles across a landscape as one of the examples. So everything nodes is going to be a huge part of Blender going forward. It'll be interesting to see where it comes out. Another thing that is in the newest alpha, which I also am going to do a video on, once it gets to beta status, I'll do a top 5 features from the new alpha, and definitely one of those top features is going to be the new asset browser. Now this is a new editor window in Blender, allows you to create and save asset libraries. It's arranged into categories including scenes, animations, objects, collections, geometry, shading, images, sounds, and environments. To be honest, I've always found the way that asset libraries work in Blender now a bit confusing. And I do like the idea of the asset browser. It makes management of content a whole lot easier. So the advantages are asset browser makes content management in Blender easier. Standard shaders, node groups, textures, HDRI maps, and hair setups will become more straightforward to master and use. Will mean increased discoverability because items have better previews. Furthermore, the asset browser means portability because assets can now be standardized and consistently accessed wherever you or your computer happen to be. That is definitely a nice thing. Another area that's going to get improvement is the video sequence editor. Now, a lot of people realize that Blender can actually be used as a non-linear video editing solution. I actually find it a little buggy on Windows platforms at least, but this is an area where they're going to be focusing in on. Is to provide great editing experience when working on short film production, for example, assembling storyboards, animatics, and video clips. Could also mean stitching together several hours of footage to create video tutorials. To help with these use cases, VSE's design will be improved on a technical level, but also on the user interface or experience side. This translates to performance improvements with better caching and smooth video playback and scrubbing, interactive strip manipulation in the timeline, visual media transforms, improved retiming tools. This is one of those areas where I found it really struggled, was clipping and resizing strips, changing speeds, and so on. So definitely nice to see that there. Media management and 3-point editing workflow and more. So the nonlinear editor, or the VSE, the video sequence editor, is going to get some love this year. Eevee. Eevee is the real-time renderer, probably the star feature of Blender 2.8x in general, and I think that was 2019, maybe late 2018. But Eevee is a real-time renderer. It's going to get Vulkan support there. Vulkan is a rendering graphic. It is the successor or the replacement for OpenGL going forward. And we're getting to the point where more and more hardware that aren't made by Mac have good support for Vulkan. So with Vulkan, Eevee will be future-proof and more efficient. Other medium-term goals for Eevee include answering the question, what does Eevee need to be used in a feature film? Part of the response is motion blur, which is why motion blur was prioritized in 2020. Another partial response is depth of field, which will be worked on next. On the horizon, possibility of ray tracing. But first, they're going to get Vulkan down. That would be awesome to have real-time ray tracing and Vulkan in the Eevee renderer. And then we've got another area that people are pretty excited about. It's a little early at this point in time. I did a video about it in the past, and that is VR, or virtual reality support. Thanks to the hard work, VR development in Blender is proceeding rapidly along a series of milestones, including the addition of input devices inside of Blender. Right now, it's mostly just a scene viewer. In fact, you'll soon be able to create whatever you want in Blender's VR, way beyond simple walkthroughs. Put another way, VR become a real option for creation within Blender. That actually has me pretty stoked. I think the Oculus Quest 2 really expanded Blender out to a lot more people. And that's going to be interesting if you can actually use Blender for doing all of your authoring. And then we got Cycles. That's their non-real-time renderer. Efforts on Cycles will be directed at improving performance, especially in scenes brimming with mesh, hair, and volume objects. GPU-CPU hybrid rendering will also be given care and attention. Aim is to make Cycles even more competitive in the crowded world of render engines. And then Animation 22 was formerly called Animation 2020, but could not start last year. Good news is Blender Foundation received a big grant from AWS. So that's Amazon's backing was actually very specifically targeted towards improving the animation tools. So they're going to be able to hire an increased number of people. So they want to involve experienced character TDs, or technical directors, from the industry, including recruiting top developers who are in for a challenge. Specs include work on speed, node system for drivers, constraints, deforms, character debugging tools, redesign armatures to work for mocap controls and automated systems, muscles, multi-layer posing, and allowing tweaks on top of caches, advanced interaction selection, and of course to be aligned with USD, and that's going to be a significant thing. Pipeline development is pipeline is just kind of the general workflow, working with other projects and so on. Aim of pipeline development is to help define how everyone works together, from director to art director to rigger. With greater collaboration comes greater efficiency and more energy for creative work. On a more granular level, the hot topic for pipeline developments includes improved override, automatic file building, and integration of production management, render management, and storage systems. And then finally, USD. USD is Pixar's open scene format. It's basically, so a simplified version of Pixar's USD importer was introduced in 2.82. 2021, there are active efforts to introduce more extensive support for USD I/O. So that is definitely going to be a big thing, because it's going to become the universal interchange format. More and more companies are getting behind it. NVIDIA just released something called Omniverse, which is kind of built around the idea of using it as like a universal interchange format between game engines and rendering tools and modeling tools and so on. USD is looking like it is going to be the industry standard, and it'd be nice to move away from proprietary solutions such as the Caldera film box, the FBX file format, or the last attempt at USD, which was Collada, which kind of got bloated and broken fast. So hopefully USD does become the future interchange format. And it does seem like all of the big players are putting their weight behind USD, so it's seeming like that will probably happen. And that is a priority for the Blender team in 2021, which I think is a good thing. And then we have some restructuring happening at Blender themselves. It's more on the, the team's getting bigger. You need to manage that. You need to hire people and so on. So they're looking at doing some restructuring there, more on the business practical side of things. Probably something that the majority of you aren't really that interested in. And then I have a feeling that this sentence should probably be here because in 2021, Pixar's USD will be more fully integrated into Blender. So that is basically the direction of Blender in 2021. Some of the pieces are already here. Like I mentioned, I did a video on geometry nodes. They're early on. It's Blender 2.92 alpha after all. Also, the asset browser is going to be part of the 2.92 release, hopefully, as well. So once that gets to beta, I'm going to do a more hands-on look at some of the nice new features there. But if you want to check out 2.92 geometry nodes in action, I've done a video on that. I will link that in the article down below, along with links to the announcement from the Blender Foundation and so on. So definitely a big banner year in 2021, and that is what we are looking at in 2020. Banner year 2020, what we're looking forward to in 2021. So I ask, is what you're looking for on there? Definitely one of the areas I'd like to see. I do like the idea of USD. I do like the idea of a universal format, especially if game engines start adopting it and everybody else starts adopting it. So for example, Unreal Engine does support it. And we kind of get to the point where, if you do this in this tool, you can do your dynamics over in Houdini, you can do your modeling over here, but you're actually using the same file format across all of those things instead of, an import-export process. It's kind of the holy grail of interchange, and it's never really worked out yet. So hopefully Pixar's format is the winner in that regard. I'm also kind of excited about some of the animation tools there. It's nice to see AWS going behind it. I do like the idea of everything as nodes. It opens up a whole lot of opportunities without having to jump into the world of scripting. Eevee improvements are always a nice thing for me, and I am actually kind of excited about the VR stuff. But where I'm kind of missing here, so I would have liked to have seen a little bit more about texturing, and the world of real-time games didn't really get a whole lot out of this update there. Some focus on modeling and texturing for sure would have been nice, but hey, there's still going to be those features in various releases throughout the year, and I got a feeling with the rate that sculpting improved in 2020, we can expect more improvements in 2021. All right, so that is it. That is the future of Blender, or at least the immediate future of Blender. Let me know what you think of their priorities, what's on there, and more importantly, I guess, what is off of there. And that's it. Talk to you all later. Goodbye.